This is what yours should look like now. You have it folded where it opens like that. Yes? It's like peekaboo. 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 Okay. So now you're going to take your scissors. Now, wait. Watch. When you take your scissors, only one person didn't do this right in period 1. It was very impressive. You are only cutting this flap here. So you are not cutting through the whole paper. Nothing should fall off of this paper. Everything should stay attached. Okay? So what I would do is I would actually unfold it completely and then cut at these lines here in between statistical and numerical, and you're just cutting to that fold. And that is the amount of your cut. And you're cutting in between. Okay, go ahead and grab a scissors, cut. Mr. Tyson had to steal some of our scissors today, so you might need to borrow. I don't think you guys have any, Salma and Fahima. You might need a... And you're doing the same thing on the other side. So you are creating little windows. And it should look something like this when you're done. It's just like crazy flappiness.
Maybe a paper cup. Perfect. Thank you. Need help? Got it? What do you need? And if you go fast. What is this? You're not doing what you're supposed to. Step 1, do what you're supposed to. Step 2, you're going to copy all these words down in your notes. What? Okay, so this is helpful because you have to know all these words. You have to be able to tell exactly what is what. So you count like this.
Okay, so Christy, fold in half. All right, so today we're going to be going through definitions, but we're also going to be coming up with examples of questions of things that are going to work with these. So, like I said, this is what I want to go through every time that you are given a study or you're given statistics that someone's like, this is statistical. Sometimes it's not statistical, and we want to be able to say it. You don't want to cut yours? You need help? Okay. You want to cut it then? So you want me to cut it? Because being on your phone is really important right now. Look at that, playing your playlist. Gotta get the tunes right for today, right? Come on, Ryan. You can do this. You're capable. Want to do this, or do you want me to do that? You got it? You sure? Alright. If you fold down those creases a little bit more, if yours are popping fold on those lines, it'll help keep those flaps a little bit more down. Or flip it around and just pound it. Right? Just kidding. Fold it. I don't know. Alright, one second. I gotta cut mine. Thanks for your patience. You guys are crushing it. Alright, so first off, we're going to decide if things are statistical or non-statistical. So statistical means like we actually can do like math with it. We can actually talk about it. We can do a whole study about that information. Okay, so for something to be statistical, I'm trying to zoom in here. Yell at me if you guys can't see what I'm writing at some point or if you need me to change it. Phone away, Jay. Thanks. Phone away, Tristan. Thanks. Like away though, not just so I can't see it. Thanks. Alright, so statistical. I'm going to open that flap. Means that we have many points of data. And that there's a variety of answers. Or there's at least an option for a variety of answers. Okay, it's possible that when I ask you all what's your favorite music, that you all might say pop. Right? Okay? But you have the opportunity to have a lot of different answers. Okay? And I would be asking a lot of you. Okay, non-statistical. What is that prefix in non-statistical? Non. And what does non tell us? Not. So, if something is statistical, it means that there's many points of data, there's a variety of answers. Not statistical means how many answers are there going to be? Just one answer. And it could be that we just asked one person that question. Okay? So if I ask Miss Paterka, how are you doing today? Fine. Can I just assume everyone is fine? No. I'd need more data, right? If I ask Grace, what's 2 plus 2? 4. Ash, what's 2 plus 2?
21.
No.
I'm joking, 2.
2 plus 2. 4. Okay, that's not statistical. I can't just say, okay, everyone just assumes 2 plus 2 is 4. That's nothing that we can really do with the math. We need multiple answers. So, for example, statistical would be, what is the average temperature in St. Cloud, Minnesota, the last month. And I'm going to zoom in. What is the average temperature in St. Cloud, Minnesota in the last month? Is there going to be a variety of answers in the last month based on the days, day to day? Has the average temperature changed? Yeah, some days it's like snowing, some days it's like 70. Okay? Is there a lot of data points in a month? Yeah, how many are usually in about a month? 30, 31. So we have about 30 data points, and there's that variety. So that is statistical. On the same idea of temperature, something that would be not statistical would be, what was the temperature Minnesota on April 3rd, 2022. Fighting with my camera today. I could look at a lot of different resources, a lot of different websites. Generally speaking, are all the websites that talk about the temperature of St. Cloud, Minnesota on April 3rd going to give me about the same amount?
Yeah.
Yep. Is it going to change?
No.
No. Is there pretty much one correct answer? Yeah. Yep. So that's one way. That's most of the reasons why we wouldn't have a statistical situation. A non-statistical would be the question just has one correct. All right. Another way, though, would be like that option when I say, okay, today I walked outside, it's cloudy. That means in all of Minnesota, it's cloudy. That still would be non-statistical because I'm only using one data point, okay, because I only got one answer. So that's our first thing, is that we're looking between this there. They didn't quite line up with the cutting, but it was close. It was worth an effort. All right, the next thing we're going to decide, after we decide that statistical, we can continue our journey down our checklist. Next thing we have is numerical. When you see that word numerical data or categorical data, what does numerical sound like or look like to you? What word?
America.
Number. It kind of looks like America, weirdly. But numerical means what? Numbers. So it means that our data is listed as numbers. So our data can either be listed as numbers or it can be categorical. What is that word categorical? What word do you see in that, or what's that base word? Category. What does it mean to have a category?
Selection.
A selection? Yeah, like the different selections, the different groups. Yeah. What'd you say? To separate, yeah. So data is going to be listed as like names or titles or with like descriptions. I didn't put a line there for descriptions, but some sort of description that has words with it. Okay, and again, the majority of our data is going to fall into one of these categories. Either it's numerical or it's names. So for example, with numerical, a question that we might ask that's statistical is how many times, and a lot of times numerical will start with how or how many. That's kind of our key word there, is the how many, because that's going to tell us we're looking for a number answer. How many times did students in this class poop last week? If I'm talking about this class, is that going to be a lot of different data points? Yeah, how many of us are in this class? Yeah, 20 something. I don't know, 23, 24, somewhere in there. Okay, did everyone poop the exact same amount of times last week?
No.
Probably not.
If it was,
That'd be real creepy. Be weird. Okay, if you guys don't know this, some people poop like 4 times a day and some people poop like every other day. It's weird. Pooping schedules are weird. Some people only poop once a day. Some people poop at the exact same time every day.
Can we stop talking about this?
Oh, everyone poops. It's something you guys all know about.
Well, yes, but still.
We're all on the same page. So, categorical, if we're talking about poop, what's a question I could ask you about your poop that doesn't have to do with numbers?
What color was it?
What color was your poop last week?
Or where?
Or where did you poop last week? Or what was the consistency?
Okay.
Was it runny?
How long was it?
Was it chunky?
Please stop.
Alright, so categorical means that we're going to have answers that are words usually or descriptions, where numerical we have numbers. Alright, if we don't talk about poop, what's another question you could ask that has to do with a number answer?
What color, or how many times did you dye your hair?
How many times have you dyed your hair? What were you saying, Grace?
People, who have the same name, they're like Bob, like putting it in.
How many people do you know named Bob? Good. I was going to go with like how many siblings you have, but that works.
I went with color.
I know. Then, what would be another example for categorical?
Would be,
What color is your hair?
Yep. It would be like,
How many
color?
times did you brush your teeth last week?
That would be that'd be numerical.
What was your last
toothpaste
hair
did you
color?
What toothpaste you use would be categorical.
What?
All the bobs.
What was your last?
Who
hair
are the
color?
Bobs, you know? Things like that. All right, moving on. Phones are still away. Here's mine. All right, population. Population. We usually think of, Christy, you ready? All right, population. We usually think of like the population of St. Cloud is like how many people live in St. Cloud. When we talk about population of a data sample, that's our data survey results. We're looking at kind of the same thing. We're looking at the entire group of people that we want information about. Who are we trying to get information about in this observation, in this experiment? Well, sometimes we're gonna make it more specific.
The class?
Yep, like it.
At Walmart?
This class, or people who shop at Walmart, or sometimes we're looking at just Democrats, or looking at just Republicans. We might be looking at just females, okay, just non-binary. All right, sample is the smaller group of people we actually collect the data from. Sometimes it's not realistic to actually gather data from the entire group. Even at Apollo, if we're trying to gather data on every single person at Apollo, if it's a question to ask, to get everyone to answer the same question within the same time frame would be really challenging, because does everyone show up to school on the exact same day?
No.
Every day. Some people are gone for multiple days in a row. Then by the time that we get those answers, maybe some people's answers changed. So many things. So generally when we collect data, we collect it from a smaller group, which allows us to make judgments or make decisions for the entire group. But we use that smaller group as our basis, because it's just like easier to do that, as well as we can still have it be accurate. All right, so for example, if we wanted to know about homecoming shirt designs, homecoming t-shirt designs. Any of you order a homecoming t-shirt this year? It is a thing. Okay, ASU puts that on. They're the ones that raise the money for that. They have the design. They get to pick it out. But maybe they want feedback on what design you all want. Okay? So if they're trying to get feedback on the design for the Apollo homecoming t-shirts, who is their population? Who are they trying to get an opinion of? All students everywhere?
Well, no.
So that would be the entire group. But again, they're probably not going to go and make sure that they have every single person's opinion. That would just be draining it. By the time that they would get that information, it probably homecoming would have come and gone already. Okay? So instead they're going to do the smaller group. So maybe they'll ask 300 students. Is Apollo only 300 students? We're like 5. You guys are so bad at guessing. It's like 1,300, 1,400. What? What?
Since when? I didn't know we had that many students.
Yeah. It's like 300, 400 students per grade.
I don't believe you.
I thought it was like 1,000.
All right. Well, we'll ask somebody at some point. We're going to say about 1,300 students.
There was like 500 in my grade.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets lower as you get closer to ABC.
Yeah.
It starts out about 500.
Yeah, 300, 400. It's 300 per grade at North, and you guys are North and Kennedy and some other random people.
That's 4 grades.
And there's 4 grades. Yeah. Okay, so the sample would just be the 300 students we ask. Okay, and that's important to keep in mind as we look at our data. Who did we ask? How did we ask them? Kind of that situation. So, population, every sample, every data has a population and has a sample. All right, I'm seeing like 4 phones out right now. I need those phones to be put away. I'm kind of tired of talking about phones. At this point, if I see them, Captain America is going to come and take your phone. So right now, phones can be put away. All right. So for our sample, with these 300 students, we're actually going to look into 4 different types of samples. And this is the sample type. How did we select those 300 students? Okay, the first way we can select the students is randomly. Randomly means that everybody has an equal chance of being selected. Now, random is really careful because it sounds like it should be fair. A lot of people will have a different type of sample that's not random. That they'll be like, oh, it was random. Everyone had a chance of being selected. Okay, but sometimes that's not always the case. If I just go to the lunchrooms today and randomly grab 3 people, is that going to be the entire Apollo population that I'm grabbing out of? No. Who wouldn't be included in that? People maybe who aren't eating lunch? What? People, maybe if I only go to a lunch, right?
Yeah, do that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Or maybe people doctor's appointment, they didn't come to lunch, or maybe they're sick that day. So not everyone will have that equal chance. So we have to really make sure that equal chance, and that's the part that can be really challenging with some data studies. Okay, so in this case, what's something that all students have at Apollo? A school ID. You all have a lunch number. Whether or not you actually use your lunch number might be different. But for us to all have an equal chance of being selected, we might have a computer generate $300 school ID numbers. A little bit for our school. If you leave and come back, you have the same ID. Fun fact.
I know, I'm so glad.
If you go to Sauk Rapids and then you come back, you still get the same school ID.
I'm so glad about that.
Nice.
If it wasn't like that, I would.
Exactly. All right, so computer-generated 300 school ID numbers. We could also take all the school ID numbers. We could cut them apart, put them in a bag, and then grab them out of a hat. But with 1,500 students, that would be a really big amount of work. So probably would use a computer to generate that. Okay, everyone's ID numbers would be in there. Everyone would have an equal amount of opportunity to get picked. Okay? All right, so system. What does it mean to have a system? Organization, regulation, there's rules. So in this case, there is a method to choosing participants. Okay, there is a method to choosing participants. Okay, so for example, maybe it's in an alphabetical list. Why is alphabetical so hard to spell? In an alphabetical list, we choose every 5th person. So not everyone is going to get a chance to participate. Technically, everyone starts there. But if I already passed the A's and your last name is Anderson, I don't know, last name, Anderson, do you still have a chance of getting selected? No. So, but there is a methodical part here. It's still somewhat random, but it's not quite completely as random as just randomly picking school IDs. Okay, so every 5th person gets chosen. All right, convenience. What does it mean for something to be convenient?
Easy.
Easy to grab, easy. That's what convenience store is. Quick Trip is a convenience store. It has all the So if Miss Fisher wants a quick convenient for her, she's not putting in a lot of effort. She's not going to put everyone's names into a hat and draw a random name. She's just picking people that are easy to find.
Just pure laziness.
Yep, a little bit. Which sometimes is the best. If you need quick results, a lot of times convenience is the best. So convenient would be asking people in your third hour class? Do you have to put in a lot of effort to find those people?
No.
Nope. They're all there. Did you get to pick who's in your third period class? Nope. Did they get to pick who's in your class? Nope. Random, because if your third period class is 9th grade gym, is everyone in the school going to be able to be randomly put in there? No, it would just be 9th graders. So it's not necessarily random, but it's something that's convenient. It's easy for you to do. Which sometimes if you need a quick decision or you're trying to make a quick survey, the convenience is the best way to go. It's not always going to be the most accurate, though. Lastly, we have self-selected. What does it mean to be self-selected? Yeah, yourself. So participants get to choose to partake in the survey. Or choose to partake. I keep putting that word in there. So participants choose to partake. So maybe it's a volunteering. Maybe sometimes we send out a message that's like, hey, we need 50 students to attend, choosing to partake in that. Okay, we do a lot of these studies at Apollo. Okay, they do Schoology surveys. There have been Schoology surveys about like, what did you do over music do you enjoy listening to? They had those teacher ones earlier. Does everyone have to participate in those surveys? No. No one's going around checking it off. They post it, and then if you want to do it, you do it. If you don't want to do it, do it. Okay, self-selected. All right, our last one. Let's talk about the main key word in our last part. Before we go to that, real quick, I just want to review. Every study is going to have a population, and every study is going to have a sample. But then based on that sample, we're going to pick one of these 4 methods of how they got their sample. So we open it completely. It says there's this and one of these. That's why there's an or there. It's saying that we're picking one of those. Does that make sense? A little bit? I tried making it make sense, and it was kind of crazy in my brain. All right, a key word in biased and unbiased. What's the root word? Bias. What does it mean to have a bias? Not always just to have an opinion. It's like kind of have like more of a consistent opinion based on your personal experiences or your personal background. So for example, if your mom is a doctor and she is a really, really great mom, you might think that all doctors are really great. Right? Okay? Or maybe you went to the dentist one time and the dentist yelled at you because you have cavities. So now you hate going to any dentist. Okay? I didn't go to the dentist for 6 years because I hate them. They're the worst. What?
I love the dentist.
It's the worst. I hate it. Finally found a dentist that I went in and I told them I hate dentists, and they've been the nicest people to me in the world. Okay? Also, bias could play into more serious things. We've heard bias and unbiased, racial bias, gender bias, things like that people have based on their personal experiences or based on experiences of those that they respect. And sometimes those biases can be positive, and sometimes those biases can be really negative. So, for example, like the whole idea of your mom being a doctor. You might have a positive view on doctors because your mom is a doctor. Okay? However, it could also be negative. And it could also play negatively. When I correct your guys' tests, I like to correct your tests question by question, and I like to not see whose test I'm grading. And the reason why I do that is because sometimes when I look at whose test it is, I might look at Eloise's test and be like, this is kind of mumble, I gets the points. But then I might look at Justice's and be like, Justice does nothing in my class, she sleeps, she's the worst, never participates, okay? And I might look at hers and her answer is mumble jumble, but I'll be like, she doesn't know what she's doing, and I'll give her a lower grade. Okay, and that's based more on my opinion of what they do in class. Does that really have anything to do with their understanding of the material? No. I'm not looking at names. I go question by question, make sure that I'm grading it fairly. Because otherwise my bias of how I think you are as a student might influence how I grade your test.
You're a good teacher.
Thanks. Appreciate that. All right, so biased. Biased means that we are going to have an inaccurate representation. We're going to just do a couple problems together. You don't have, we'll do our individual practice tomorrow. So a question or sample will result in inaccurate or wrong representation of the population. Okay. Unbiased. What's our unbiased? And what does un tell us? Not. So if bias means we're going to get the wrong representation, what would unbiased tell us? We should get the right. It should result in an accurate representation or a correct representation. Now this can be done in a couple of ways. And the big thing is with bias and unbiased is it's not just the result of like, oh, that was just like a random things that everyone was just really, really happy today. That was just random, right? It's that somebody designed it wrong, or the way that the question was asked was confusing, or it was worded weird that doesn't make it a good study. Okay, so we're going to write kind of a lot of things here. So when you write this, make sure you're writing a little bit small. So if we're talking about the best math teachers at Apollo, okay, biased would be if Miss Morell asked okay, and especially if you think about how I would ask that, all right, I might say, hey, Tristan. Hey, how are you doing today? Good. You know, we were talking the other day, and we were, like, a bunch of my students, we were agreeing that, like, I'm the best math teacher that they've ever had. You feel that way, don't you? Okay. She's going to feel pressured to say yes, right? Whether or not, some people are going to be brutally honest. If I asked Justice, am I the best math teacher ever, even if I presented it the same way, she'd be like, nope.
I mean, you're mine.
Oh, thanks. But if Justice didn't feel that way, she would be very blunt with me and be like, no, you're the worst. She's a blunt person. Yeah. Okay, but some people might feel like they might hurt my feelings if they say no, so they want to say yes. Maybe they think I'm going to give them a worse grade if they say no. Maybe they think I'm going to give them better grades if they say that they're my favorite, I'm their favorite math teacher. Okay, so that would be inaccurate. Okay, another way that would be inaccurate is if we just asked, who's the best math teacher at Apollo? I'm going to leave the part of at Apollo out just for a moment. Okay, who's the best math teacher? But we only ask Morell's students. Okay, in this case, the question isn't biased. Who's the best math teacher? It's giving you opportunity to say lots of different answers. But if you only ask my students who's the best math teacher, most of my students are either freshmen or sophomores, and most of them have only really had me as a math teacher. Sometimes they've had another math teacher for like a trimester. But a lot of students have me for like 2 years. So those students that have only had me at Apollo for 2 years, if that's the majority of my students, who are they going to say is the best math teacher? Probably me, because do they know any other teachers? No. Or maybe they only had one. To a biased result, because most of those students are probably going to say Miss Morell, or they just don't even know all the math teachers. Okay? You've never had Mr. Roniak. Can you compare me and Mr. Roniak? No, Mr. Roniak. Some of you will have him next year. It'll be great. All right, so unbiased would be asking the whole school or asking a random sample of Apollo who is the best math teacher. You can't see it. You didn't like looking at my fingernails? All asking a random sample of Apollo, who is the best math teacher? I want to make sure that we're not just asking 9th graders, we're not just asking 10th graders. Unless we want to know who's the best 9th grade math teacher, then we could ask just 9th graders. Okay? If I only ask my students that are currently passing, who's the best math teacher? If I ask all my students that are not passing my class?
Not you.
Probably not. Okay, so we really want that random sample, and we want to make sure that the way that we're asking it, how we're asking it, is going to allow for people to feel like they can answer honestly. Okay? Alright, this part that's blank, this is where you are putting the glue. This is getting glued into your notes. I would glue first and then label after you glue what this lesson is. Just get that in your notes first. So you're gluing this blank side, and that is going into your notes. Miss Snyder, I'm the best co-teacher you have this year, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you have other co-teachers. That's right. Never mind. Dang it. My bad. I'm the best math co-teacher you have this year. That is biased. All right, so you're gluing this in. Take a picture of that first. No? You just want the inside? There you go. Alright, so you're getting that glued in. Gluing in the blank side, putting that in. No, we're going to do a couple practice problems together, Drew. I don't know where my glue is. I'll glue it in later. Getting that glued in. Alright, then if you want to label above that or on the side where you did L-2 classifying data. L-2 classifying data and get that glued in. Do I have a pencil? You're welcome. Alright, I'm going to put a couple questions on the board, and you're going to first decide if they're statistical or non-statistical. Maybe. The internet's slow. Give me one moment. Dante, what are you doing? Oh, why is Destiny moving? No. Oh, yeah, she's got to leave early. Alright, the internet's not loading. Alright, I'm just going to ask a question, I guess. Was your favorite TV show on Netflix? What is your favorite TV show on Netflix? Is that statistical or non-statistical? Okay, if I ask, what is the class's favorite TV show?
Statistical.
Is there going to be a lot of data points?
Yeah.
A lot of different options? Okay, good. What if I ask, how many chapters are there in the book Wonder? How many chapters are in the book Wonder? What makes us say that we want to say that that is statistical?
How many chapters? Many?
Because it's numerical, we want to say it's statistical because we get a number answer. But are there a lot of different answers for how many chapters there are in the book Wonder? Right. But generally speaking, if I Wikipedia it right now, there's a set number. There's only going to be one answer. So for that one, is it statistical or non-statistical? Non-statistical.
You're doing really good.
Thank you. Crushing it. It's a lot. All right. Numerical or categorical? Numerical would be... I'm not going to give you... I'm just going to ask you a question. You have to decide. Okay, numerical. Who is the last person you called? that numerical or categorical?
Categorical.
Categorical. How many times did you call your mom yesterday? Numerical. Numerical. Good. Beautiful. Look at you.
You call your mom?
Calling your mom lots of times. Love that.
She
All
doesn't
right,
answer
there
the
is
first
no
2 times.
individual
I'll never call
practice
my mom.
tonight. Tonight would be a really good night to check Skyward. I updated the gradebook last night around 5 p.m. Okay, we saw about 50 seconds. If you can make sure that I just cleaned all these tubs at the beginning of the day today, so if you make sure you're putting things in nicely, you're going inside the tub, that would be really great.